In today's Water is Wet segment, DEI is not profitable. You don't say. But this is coming from Microsoft, as Microsoft lays off DEI team and its lead wrote an internal email blasting how DEI is no longer business critical. I mean, my dude, it was never business critical, but I guess, as with most massive corporation, it takes a while for this point to actually sink in, that water is in fact moist. I should know, it's been raining about 7 days straight here in Norway now, and I'm starting to wonder if God has it out for me personally. Anywho, this of course comes in the wake of Microsoft warns game devs about stereotypes and exaggerated body proportions earlier this year. English is difficult sometimes. Where what they of course meant by this is, don't have sexy women in your video games, goddammit. No massive tits or asses or beautiful faces or anything like that. Unless it's on the men, of course, in which case go ahead and make them as enormously buff Greek gods as you desire, because that is very, very diverse, you see. And this was followed by all kinds of justifications. 57% of players in the broader gaming market didn't play certain games because the games weren't made for them. Yeah, I imagine that a grand strategy gamer would not necessarily be interested in a hidden item game, for example. I also imagine that the average COD fan might not be interested in the latest installment of Europa Universalis. The majority of players are not going to play video games not designed to cater to them. That's what taste is. 53% of developers felt diversity in storytelling should be a priority, and it was ranked as the third most important factor in industry growth. 53% of game developers are complete and utter morons who have not been outside for a very, very long time, or live in California. Either way. And 41% of retail consumers have shifted 10% or more of their businesses away from brands that do not reflect their value in diversity and inclusion. Well, I mean, if these stats are correct, then why on God's good earth is Microsoft doing this? Why is CNN, we covered that story the other day, getting rid of their racism and equalities team? Well, it's because you can make up as many statistics as you want, and indeed HR departments in countless companies have been doing that for quite some time, but it doesn't actually reflect reality. As a famous person once said, lies, damned lies, and statistics. It goes on. Microsoft laid off a diversity, equity, and inclusion team, citing changing business needs. Wonder what those are. The move follows commitments made by Microsoft and other tech firms after the George Floyd protests. Our D&I commitment remains unchanged, a Microsoft spokesperson said in a statement, which wasn't this exactly what I said during the CNN article? That these companies are going to remove these things because they don't earn money. They have been looking at them now for years of not earning money, and once they do have to remove them, they still understand that these are forces in institutional power, and governmental power, and so they've got to go like, oh, we're firing you, but that doesn't mean we're not behind you 100%. And hey, considering the left's habit of weaponizing hypocrisy, they should frankly appreciate this stance. After Microsoft laid off an internal team focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion, God, what were they even doing all day? I would genuinely love to see like a layout of the average employee's day here. Like, get into work. Pretend to read newspapers for 6 hours. Have a mojito. Leave. A team leader blasted the company for a lack of investment in these efforts. My dude, you've had a job for several years now, primarily after the company was like, shit, somebody's gonna burn our house down. And you failed to prove yourself valuable. True systems change work associated with DI programs everywhere are no longer business critical or smart as they were in 2020. They weren't smart or business critical in 2020 either. Beyond avoiding an angry mob, that is. A leader of the team wrote an email sent to thousands of thousands, holy shit, which was viewed by Business Insider. The email says the team was eliminated because of changing business needs. In other words, we don't have enough money to coddle your asses anymore. As of July 1st, it is unclear how many employees were affected. The team leader, whose identity BIS confirmed, did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Many technology companies, including Microsoft, made commitments to improve diversity efforts after the 2020 murder of George Floyd by a Minneapolis police officer and the historic protests that followed. I wonder if there could be some sort of connection between the two. In 2020, Microsoft pledged to double the number of black leaders within the company by 2025. The company's progress on this pledge is unclear. Oh, I don't know if it's all that unclear, Bucky Boo, but Despite those commitments, many tech companies have appeared to retreat somewhat from diversity efforts. Zoom laid off a DEI-focused team earlier this year. Bloomberg reported Google and Meta also cut DEI programs last year, according to CNBC and ABSC, and of course, just the other day, CNN also cut their race and equalities team, which is the exact same form of activist infiltration. Our D&I commitment remains unchanged, Microsoft spokesperson Jeff Jones said in a statement. Our focus on diversity and inclusion is unwavering, and we are holding firm on our expectations, prioritizing accountability, and continuing to focusing on this work. I'm sure you are. I am absolutely sure. And again, this is the kind of news that we have been expecting for quite some time. I often hear like, oh, when is things going to turn around, when all of these mainstream companies going to go broke, etc. Well, a lot of the mainstream media publications already have. CNN is now currently in a merger/buy-up with Associated Press, and as a part of that, they appear to have fired their own racism and equalities department. The various other tech companies too are backing away from the commitments they made during the heights of leftism, the cultural moment of George Floyd, Saint Floyd of George, more correctly, or George Floyd. Because they gave these programs now almost half a decade, basically, and they don't see any returns. They are told that, oh, if we just do this, again, the massive, the acolyte, if we just commit to the bit, the wider audience will rescue us from the pit. Kind of rhymed. And yet again, after countless commitments, after Disney as well with The Acolyte, there is no wider audience. As I said, politics is the 2% fighting over the 98. We thought we had the silent majority on our side, the left thought it had the silent majority on its side, and we proved to have the better argument in the end. And especially now after again, the weekend's events, I do not believe that a focus on DEI is necessarily advisable, considering the not exactly stellar performance of some of the more diverse members of Donald Trump's security detail. And a lot of these companies will actually survive. Microsoft is more than able to dump a few $1 million into a dumbass department over the course of 5 years. It's a goddamn tax write-off at that point. CNN is still valuable enough to be bought out. Disney is probably in more trouble, honestly. If there are any one of the major companies that might actually go under, it might be Disney. Because Disney Plus is still not earning money. The only thing that's actually earning them anything is their cruises and their parks, and the nostalgia that these existences live off can only last for so long, particularly considering the recent security concerns and repeated apparent alleged breakdowns of their newest attractions. Yes, not to mention the Disney Star Wars Hotel. But boy, 2024. It started out as a crazy year, it's continuing on as a crazy year, but I think it might just be remembered as the real turning point year, where wokeism was finally and resolutely routed. Now, what we end up doing with that victory, that's for the next few years to tell, isn't it? Oh well, for the moment, it's all about enjoying our current momentum. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for listening, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.